Welcome everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to my channel, Rapido T Lusso Guitar, RT Lusso here. And today we're going to be discussing and doing another brief review of the Gretsch 140th Anniversary Double Platinum Limited Edition in a beautiful pearl white and stone on the top with the matching headstock with the ice blue on the sides, and it's a beautiful colour. I mean, I'll get more into that later. When you look at it straight on, it's almost like an Olympic white, but then as you walk to the side of it, this is when it's on its stand, it changes to like picks up some of the golds in, you know, it's not very sunny today, in fact it's pouring it down here. So I'll just go through some of the construction briefly. It's 3-ply maple body, a full 2 3/4 inches in depth, and it has trestle bracing. So that's 2 struts of wood going down the top of the body here, one there roughly, sat on feet which marry the 2 surfaces together, which reduce feedback. Now I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, that this was introduced in 1959 based on Chet Atkins complaining that the guitars were feeding back as he played bigger venues. He was cranking the amp up to be heard back in the days when PAs were pretty limited. So Gretsch addressed that by putting the trestle bracing in, and I'm a big fan of it. I've got it in the Black Phoenix over there, hope you can see it. That's trestle braced. It's the same depth body as that, although the Black Phoenix is slightly sort of wide about. I think it's 17 inch. I could be wrong. And construction wise, this guitar is beautifully made and constructed. It's crafted in China, which basically sort of means that not all the components are from China. A lot of the components here will be Korean made, maybe even in Japan. The only difference I've noticed between this and say the Tri-5 and the Rat Rod, the G510Ts, is the volume controls and tone controls are ever so slightly smaller. So I'm supposing over thousands of units that saves some money, which why not? You know, if it helps them put more into the guitar, like the trestle bracing, and it's got a treble bleed master volume which really works well. In fact, it works better than on the Black Phoenix, but don't tell anybody because that one doesn't really work. It's like everything and then you back it off and it's instantly nothing. So I'll go into the bridge position, and that's with the volume, excuse me, slightly backed off. Crank it up. Can't help but smile because this guitar sounds fantastic, and it may be slightly controversial for some of you to hear me say this, but really what you're getting here is a 6120 because the dimensions are the same. It's trestle braced. The all new FT5E pickups are amongst the best sounding Gretsch pickups I've heard, and you know, and I can say that with some authority because I've got a Black Phoenix with TV classics in there, and I have the Tri-5 with a Setzer signature and a Gretsch high sensitive in the neck, and comparing the guitars, this has got more chime to it, and I found that with when I first bought a rat rod a couple of years ago. I plugged it in. I just thought, wow, these sound like Hilo-Trons, but they've still got all the beef and the williness and the guts, if you like, of a real full spectrum Filtertron. They sound fab, they really do. And as I mentioned in my previous review, where I was having one of those days where the brain didn't work and the hands didn't want to work either, and that's slightly happening today, but you know, I'm post stroke, so I had a sort of a minor stroke a couple of years ago, and I've sort of almost fully recovered. I've done my wrist, fractured my wrist really badly last year, but everything's on the mend, and guitars, I'm sure you'll agree, save. And so does music, and I love guitars. And I don't know whether I mentioned it in my other video, I don't watch TV because it's full of bad news, isn't it? Who wants to hear bad news all day? I am aware of what's going on in the world, but in the evenings I like to drink a glass of wine, and I'll just sit happily doing what most of us do, looking at guitars on YouTube, listening to music, and just looking at Gretsch's and my other guitars on their stands. It's way better than watching TV, and I know, like I said in my other one, I'm not the only one who does that. I've got quite a few guitars, and I thought, wow, you know, maybe I should get rid of some of them. Spoke to a friend this morning who I haven't spoken to for a long time, and he's got 60 guitars, so, you know, having 16 isn't so bad. But I love Gretsch guitars. I love this guitar, and I think you'd love it too. And I had a girlfriend, an ex-girlfriend, who came round last year, and she hadn't been to my apartment for over a year, and I've got some more guitars now, and she walked in and went, wow, God, it's too busy in here. You've got too many guitars. And why do you need so many guitars? You can only play one at a time. And I said to her, coming from a girl who's got 100 pairs of shoes, what are you, a centipede? And I really did say that to her. And she was quite disparaging about my favourite guitar, the Black Phoenix there. She said, I don't like it. And I just thought, wow, if it's like this already, what's it going to be like in a year's time? So she had to go. The guitars stayed. That's commitment, and I'm committed to the Gretsch brand, crafted in China. For me, is a wise move with the global costs of everything. I don't think the guitar's any sort of cheaper. You know, the quality is perfect. It really is, and I'm amazed. It plays beautifully, it came set up beautifully. The nut needs a little bit of work, or just some more playing in. So if you get one of these guitars, bear in mind, it says on the instructions of the NU-Bone tag here that it's going to take an hour of playing to bed that nut in, and that's true, and the same with the strings. And so what I'd recommend is just play it, use the Bigsby as much as you can, get those strings moving as much as you can through that nut, and eventually it starts to hold tune. It's holding tune much better. The G is always the one that I find on my other guitars will go sharp. So that's it. Let's have a listen to the middle pickup. but I'm expecting that because it's still quite new. I've only had it for a week. So that's it for today. I'm going to be enjoying playing this guitar a little bit more over the weekend, and then I'm going to do the intended mods, which are just quite simple. I'll grind the stop off the Bigsby, which I do on all my Bigsbys because I find it so much easier to have that complete freedom. And I'll also be putting a rocking bar bridge on there from Thomann, which is brass, nickel plated brass. Got there in the end. So I hope this finds you well. If you find this discussion interesting, do like and subscribe. I'll be doing more on this guitar. I'll also be revisiting the Rat Rod and the Tri-5 because I modified those. Quite interesting. I'll be getting along to the Dan Electro that's on the wall behind me, which has got Rat Rod pickups and Tri-5 surrounds. Very interesting guitar. What else? I'll be doing a review of a Harley Benton Telecaster or T-type. That's coming up next week. And also I will be doing a review of another G5420T in a mahogany finish, and that arrives today. So I'm very excited. So nice to see you. Take care. Stay cool. I'll talk to you soon.